he belongs here now. I can confidently say that I have lived 80 different lives. Arizona tea drinker, check. Dan and Phil stan, check. Sad emo, kind of the same thing, but check. K-pop stan, check. If you took time to scroll through my channel from back in the day, you can easily tell who my favorite person of the week was. I've actually made a few videos about phases in the past because it was kind of my branding to become every phase of the moon at one point. And due to that, I have kind of become a very large advocator of figure yourself out. You know, it's kind of what being young is about. It's just most people's early teenage years are not plastered all over the internet for the entire world to see. Good one, Allie. I seriously, though, used to get so much hate for just changing myself whenever I felt like it. And truthfully, though, I feel like a lot of internet kids went through this. You have to realize we were exposed to so many different types of people at such a young age. Arguably more than any generation before, you know, due to the growing nature of YouTube and social media and the internet as a whole. It was also getting easier and a lot more normalized to find people like you on the internet where you could make friends and grow your love for that thing even more. I was a huge YouTube kid. Back in the day, I probably could have told you almost every single YouTuber that was on the damn website. I grew up watching YouTubers. I was a huge fangirl, and most of my likes and dislikes kind of revolved around who I was watching a lot at the time. And I'm sure if you were like this as well, you also got backlash from those in your lives not really understanding why your interests were changing all the time. You don't have to get it, Grandma. Let me figure my stuff out. I get you, though. And honestly, I just want people to know that someone gets them. That's honestly all I ever really wanted when going through phases. But all I ever really got in return was being called mentally ill. And you know what? That might be true. But at least when I finally come out of it and feel like I know who I am, I'll be mentally ill and spiced up. So who's the real winner? If you lived in a small town like me, there weren't many different types of people. So being someone who may have experimented with their likes, dislikes, looks, music taste, people were very... I will say, these are some phases. I did go through more that I experienced. And you'll catch a theme that most of them revolve around YouTube, mainly because that is what I do know best. But also, YouTube was kind of shaping how people were on the internet. So it's very fair. I know that the internet is not just YouTube. I know. Don't gotta comment it. Before I talk about each phase, I will absolutely be calling out whose fault it was. With that being said, I feel like I'm reading the 10 Commandments or something. The entirety of O2L, Andrea Russet, Gen X Pen, That's So Jack, ooh, Lohanthony, Acacia Brindley, every Wattpad author in this era. Thank you for your service. This was the notorious phase of thinking Taco Bell, Wattpad, pizza, Netflix, and messy buns were the only thing that mattered. I first really got into YouTube around this time. Ate, drank, breathed content from my favorite creators. Tumblr was also being pumped into my bloodstream through an IV. When I closed my eyes, all I ever saw was the Live While We're Young One Direction music video. Around this era, a lot of us were also picking up cameras for the first time and discovering all of the cool things you can do with it. So pair that with a strand of fairy lights and the editing app that could do this, and you were golden, dude. And it was really my first time experiencing that if you could be relatable, people may just like you. The fact that I could talk about something so simple, just something that I do in my everyday life, and that could spark a connection with somebody else that also does that same thing or wants to do that same thing, I hooked onto that for dear life. I literally made drinking Arizona tea, riding penny boards, and wearing a bandana around my forehead my entire personality. And this mascara an absolute cultural reset. On top of it all, this was such a nice time in YouTube history. There were so many iconic creators collabing and working together that really led to the growth of this era. I did not have a single creative bone in my body. I was going to be an exact clone of Andrea Russet and Acacia Brindley. No one was going to stop me. To get a little real here, I feel like I jumped on this phase or era very quickly and very intensely because I wouldn't say I was the most liked person in middle school, and it felt quite lonely, if I must say. And that's why I turned to YouTube and just the internet in general, especially the side of it all where you could just post something like, I watch Netflix late, I love Baja Blast, this not all heroes wear capes post, and you could have hundreds of people saying, wow, same, I do that, or oh my god, I relate. And it was able to feed that side of me that never really felt a connection with those who I surrounded myself with in my personal life. I do 100% owe this era of my life the reason why I even started YouTube in the first place. And oh my god, the amount of collab channels I tried to be in because of O2L. So many. This was the pretty big era of collab channels, and honestly, it's so strange because I did think collab channels would continue to be popular, but it's so crazy to me that it pretty much completely died out. Something that I love and honestly probably love the most about this era, so many young people were really finding their creativity, and the pressure was so low because it was before, you know, anyone was able to make money off of making content on YouTube. None of us in a million years could have predicted that some of these YouTubers could be making millions of dollars. It was just a bunch of kids, teens, and young adults letting their creativity thrive in, you know, a society that kind of made you feel like you weren't able to do that. Sure, it was an absolute cringe fest, but I am very glad that I still got to live it.
Glazed eyes, empty hearts, fine, happy from shopping carts, nothing but time to kill, sipping life from bottle.
People to blame: Tyler Oakley, YouTube persona Troye Sivan, Jack and Finn, Joe Suggs, Zoella, Alfie Days, Casper Lee, and early gen Dan and Phil. Oh yeah, we're gonna be getting into British YouTuber I will ship anyone who's in the same room together territory. What a time to be alive. A leaf could fall on a flower and a swarm of 13-year-olds would be screaming, saying that the two should be getting married. That's just how it was. Sure, people were using the term shipping and begging Larry and other YouTubers to fuck before this, but I don't know, man. Something about the British YouTubers just really bit the bullet. We all grew a fascination with British accents around 2011, 2012 when One Direction was really at its peak. And I will throw this out there, I have a theory that One Direction actually paved the way for British YouTubers. When One Direction came in the picture, we all grew huge fascinations with British accents and just British culture in general. I am damn guilty though. If you have an accent, whether it be Australian, whether it be British, whatever she may be, you are better than me in my eyes. That's just how it is. And by God, if you say love after your sentence, I will melt into a puddle. So, I don't know how much I've moved on from this phase. A few of you probably recognize that some of the people I mentioned for the people to blame weren't actually British. I'm aware of that, but I still bring them up because A, they were either extremely correlated with these British YouTubers, B, they were involved in a very big ship, or C, they were just super popular at the time. I made it my entire personality in hopes that these two had some bow chicka wow wow moments, and I know I'm not alone with that. And while writing this video, I got curious because I remember there being an age gap, but I just didn't remember what it was. They were 7 years apart. Troye was 18 and Tyler was 24. I would have actually been extremely concerned if that was real. Maybe it was, I don't know. But nowadays, maybe if all I'm going to say is I'm glad I now realize that that is wrong. Character development. Truthfully, though, today, if the two of them were to have a reunion, now that, you know, Troye is an actual adult, actual adult, I can confidently say that I would shit out my esophagus. So, and this is where I really got into using Tumblr, not just using it for inspo or following a few blogs here and there. I actually had a troyler blog, and I was kind of thriving, to say the least. Besides the fact that I was tits deep into a barely legal ship. These British YouTubers had it pretty good for a while, to be honest. They had millions of us wrapped around their fingertips. We genuinely loved pretty much anything they did. I'm pretty sure a handful of you still have a hefty YouTuber book collection and still cringe when you hear the word Audible. I feel like this time in my life really set me up for the future. The fangirl life did not just come and go overnight, absolutely not. Through spending almost all of my time on Tumblr when I wasn't on YouTube, I inevitably found the dark side. Disclaimer, when I say people to blame, this era is a little different. I am definitely not saying that these people are to blame for the reason why so many of us have trauma and are fucked up in the head, but I just mean they were the main faces at the time. So the word blame is going to be used very lightly in this case. So people to blame. Matt Healy, cast of Season 1 American Horror Story, Sky Freya, Halsey, and Cassie from Skins. Also, this girl, when she had blue hair specifically. I've already made a video about the whole grunge experience, so I'm gonna keep this part a little bit short to avoid repetition, but if you want to see that entire video, it's a great video. It can be linked below. But I feel like grunge culture will always just sneak its way into all my videos. This was such an iconic part of internet culture in a good and bad way. Tumblr Girl pretty much had a brand new meaning. It kind of went from this to this. Instead of Arizona tea and penny boards, we had alcohol and cigarettes. Woo! What an upgrade. Being constantly sad, but looking cool while doing it became mine and a lot of other people's new lives. I did not want anything to do with anyone if they did not listen to the Arctic Monkeys and wear jean jackets that were 4 times sizes too big. I was also obsessed with purple lipstick. Girl, that is not your color. Put it down. Taking photos is really all I ever did with my friends. It definitely kept us from doing worse things, and at least I have something to remember the time by. And somehow I ended up becoming one of the many faces of the 2014 Tumblr experience. This was fun, but a pretty dark time. The internet that I surrounded myself with and those I surrounded myself with just led me to be pretty mentally unstable, but I couldn't stop because I found so much comfort in Tumblr because there were other sad people that I felt understood what I was going through. And even though it made me feel, I guess, less alone, it most definitely worsened the experience because all I was ever doing was surrounding myself with all of that negativity to the point where it's the only thing that I was ever able to think about. And it led me to normalize all of these really horrible things that I was thinking and doing to myself. The romanticization of mental illness was literally put on a platter. This is her on the platter, and I ate that shit up like it was from a Michelin restaurant. Like, until I really reminisced on this era of my life, I never really understood when people would say that maybe a certain time in their life was the worst, but the absolute best. I never really understood that. There was an analogy that kept going around in the comment section of my grunge video that I really felt like helped me understand that as well. And it was that this time in their life was really comparable to a toxic relationship. We all knew that it was bad for us, but we had romanticized the good parts so much, even romanticized the bad, that it was so difficult to recognize what we were actually putting ourselves through. To think that the only thing keeping me content with what I was going through was that I was able to relate to the pretty people that I was constantly reblogging. I don't know, man. It was just a dark time. It was so dark. People to blame: Dan and Phil, My Digital Escape, CEO of Hot Topic, this eyeliner. I don't really know who else. mainly just Dan and Phil. For me, at least. Look, I actually didn't watch My Digital Escape, but I know a lot of people did. I only really knew Shannon and Kyle, and I only knew Kyle because him and I were internet friends actually back in the really early YouTube days. We both lived in Ohio, and that was like a really fun bonding point we had. I unfortunately do not have proof because our convos were all on Kick. So you just trust me on this one. For me, the gateway drug into emo culture was 100% Dan and Phil. First, they introduced me to anime, you know, the big ones, Death Note, Attack on Titan, Sword Art Online. That was a big one for me. And as I tumbled down into the antisocial life a little bit more, I inevitably discovered Hair Dye and Pierce the Veil. And yeah, it all came crashing down from there. My mom was not very fond of this one. Sorry about that. I kind of finally felt like I was finding my people though. I transferred to a public school rather than a private school for the first time in my life. Found other emo kids who knew about these walking rainbows, and it all kind of blossomed from there for like 1 or 2 months. And then the friend group already kind of started falling apart. Everyone had crushes on each other. The ones that did start dating would cheat on each other after like 1 or 2 weeks, and they would all get mad when I would absolutely roast them in Mortal Kombat after school. Fatality. Unlucky, what can I say? It was messy to say the least. You haven't experienced drama until you've been a part of an emo friend group. I promise, babe, I promise you, you haven't. So that fell through. Right? Damn, we're kind of back to square one, aren't we? And because I got kind of lonely at school, I would occasionally weave my way back into the friend group, weave out, kind of just back and forth, because it was really toxic, like so bad. Emo friend groups are so bad. Pretty much all of them did not understand boundaries. They usually promoted pretty harmful things to do to yourself, had at least one creep that wouldn't leave any of the girls alone, and there was always at least one who was way too old to be there in the first place. If you had or have an emo friend group that didn't or doesn't wave triggering subjects in your face constantly, then congrats, you are in the 0.5 percentile. This was for real when Dan and Phil were such a comfort to me. I grew such a parasocial relationship with them. If I wasn't listening to Sleeping with Sirens or Falling in Reverse, I was 100% listening to their Sim series from their gaming channel in my earbuds. If I had to choose, this is probably the phase that stuck with me the most. I learned the most from this time, and you can 100% guarantee that if I'm having a bad day, you will see me at a red light headbanging to King for a Day. That's just how it is. I will go to my grave saying that being emo is never a phase. If you feel like you're still not at least like 15% emo, I'm sorry, babe. You weren't emo in the first place. I don't make the rules. You always keep that one close, whether you like it or not. People to blame. The creator of this backpack. What got put in our water to make us obsessed with ukuleles and a backpack with a fox on it, although I still have and use that backpack. But like, girl, it was like $100 backpack. What the fuck? I randomly became obsessed with art and poetry. I tried to watercolor, and I don't have any photos of said watercolor paintings, but I'm sure they looked like this. Oddly enough, I don't really remember what I was going through or what was really going on in my life at this time. I feel like I was happy though. Was I? No, I take that back. I was not. This was actually the time in my life where I finally asked my mom, hey, therapy, ? Damn, this video is really making me realize, have I ever been okay? At this point in my life, I had completely fallen out of love with making videos myself. I was just getting really tired of constant hate and just people never letting me try new things without having to get hate, and it was really getting to me at a point, and it made me completely fall out of love with YouTube. I felt like I couldn't do anything on my channel without getting so many people being like, well, no, you should be making this, or I missed when you did this, and I don't know. It was a really weird time for YouTube where people just did not like change, and I wanted to change what I was doing, but that just was not acceptable to my viewers. I still watched some people. By some people, I just mean Dan and Phil. Guys, I'm sorry. Listen, they were all I cared about for so many years. But there was one YouTuber who really had my heart at this time in my life. Dodie Clark. I don't really know who YouTube is going to recommend this video to, so there's a chance that a lot of you guys might not even know who Dodie Clark is. Basically, she was a creator that was so open about mental illness and her bisexuality, and she's actually what helped me realize, damn, you might be into girls. And also she made me realize, damn, I should probably go to therapy. Remember how I said I tried to be the human embodiment of Andrea Russett? Yeah, well, I tried to be the human embodiment of Dodie Clark. I think I just was not able to recognize that you can like someone without having to be that someone. I just was not able to really distinguish that, and I just would become so obsessed with somebody that I would literally morph myself to be them. Because of financial struggles, I wasn't able to continue therapy for longer than like a few months. I tried the whole online therapy thing and it just was not for me at all. I need it to be like a physical thing. I just do. But I would mainly love to go to therapy because I want to talk to a therapist on why did I used to do that? Why would I become so fascinated with someone and look up to someone so much that I would literally try and become them? Because with every phase that I've gone through, you can see that. You can see that I was trying to just be somebody else. I tried looking it up on like Reddit and stuff. Couldn't find some. Are you like that too? Please tell me if you are. But yeah, shout out to Dodie for making me realize that I needed a lot of help and that I like girls. So thanks, girl. Going through phases is nothing to be ashamed of. I feel like what used to be my biggest insecurity, aka having a hard time feeling and understanding who I really am, has made me become extremely comfortable in my own skin because sure, I was confused a lot of my teenage years, but it has helped me feel so secure in my own skin because I let myself try things, I let myself experience. And because of that, with every phase that I went through, I almost feel like it left little pieces of like residue. Almost. It's kind of a gross word to use, but it left little bits of my phases. And now I'm just a big old mixing pot of a bunch of little pieces. And I don't know, it's pretty cool, it makes me a pretty unique person. I used to get really, really defensive, when anyone would mention like, oh, why don't you look like this anymore? Or why are you doing this now when you used to do this? I used to get so angrily defensive and it's so silly. I wish I could just go back in time and tap little Allie on the head and be like, hey, bestie, it's all right. They're dry. Why do you care? Because the main thing that I have learned, the people who never let themselves experience and try new things are not the people you usually want to be around anyway. Something that I think is really cool that some people might be able to learn from this, who might be watching this, is that jealousy is a pretty big thing. I used to get bullied a lot for changing who I was. I have had people message me, be like, hey, I'm sorry I treated you like shit because I was honestly just jealous that you were doing you. Like, I was just jealous that you were experiencing things I thought was really cool, but I felt like I couldn't do. A lot of people who make fun of others who are going through phases, they're trying new things. That's all projection because they wish that they could be doing that. They wish they could have the confidence to be expressing themselves in the way that you are. So I feel like one thing to really like kind of get set in your head is if you're going through things and you're trying new things and you have people maybe making fun of you, you have people saying, why are you doing that? That's weird. They're likely projecting because they feel like they're so insecure that they don't think they could do what you're doing. And truthfully, we really never stop going through phases anyways. The world is always changing and you're going to be changing with it. You're going to keep finding new things you like. You're going to keep finding new styles you like. And that's totally all right. Who cares if you look different than what you looked like a year ago? That's just how it works. That's how growing up and aging goes, baby. I also relate to so many people because I have gone through so many phases. I can almost relate to every single person besides that type of person. I don't think I can't have a conversation with those people. I'm sorry. I feel like motivational talk over. That seems about it. Hope you guys enjoy, these little motivational talks maybe at the end. It's kind of cute, right? I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope that you keep going through phases. I hope that you keep being yourself. That's all that matters. If you would like to follow me, my link tree will be in the description below. I have my Instagram, Twitch, I think TikTok on there. I don't really use that one though. And yeah, I will hopefully see you guys next time. Well, not hopefully. I will see you guys next time. Peace out. See ya.